let's jump right into the live. So we asked the question, as you guys know, for the show, are you depressed? And when we ask this question, today I want to look at 5 different things in regards to, are you depressed? And here's what I want to examine. Many times, people do not respect themselves. And, we could talk about this in a specific sense, but we have people who listen to us, who watch us from all over the world. It may look different in your country. It may look different if you're in the United States, in your county, in your town, in your city. But it's the same kind of thing. So you have a lot of people now who are trying to, let's say politically, get some kind of power. They want to get into a government role or leadership. And the thing these days has been basically to denigrate yourself, degrade yourself, and people that look like you. And you will easily, very lucrative, people will come to you. You just have to espouse things that are agreeable to those who have economic power, even if it really disrespects you as a person. So I want to talk about that today, because like I said, this can look different in different countries, in different cities, in different political leanings, but it's the same concept. This can be you in high school, and maybe there's a group that you don't really want to give that much attention to or give that much credence to, but deep down, you wouldn't mind being accepted by that group. And yet, like you've heard this, and this is, for people who are of the age where they can date. So you guys know all the disclaimers, not professional advice. Always seek out a professional, and make sure that you consult with your parents in order to make sure that you're okay watching the live. Okay, so let's get back to it. People who, let's say, are out on a date, and they see the person they're on a date with talking to the waiter in a very disrespectful manner. This is something that's becoming very common now. It's almost like a trope, but it's almost part of the lexicon. It's part of the discussion of when you're assessing a potential mate or somebody that you're interested in. Look how they treat the servers. Look how they treat the waiters. Things of that kind. So when you are dealing with people, and they say that this is important because you want to consider, how do they treat someone who seems quote unquote powerless? I do not believe that they're powerless, and we can deal with that for number 2. And that's increasingly changing today. But when we go back to the question, are you depressed? Number 1 is about respect. So whether you're in political office, whether you are trying to get in with a certain crowd or you want to be acknowledged by a certain crowd in school, if you have to disrespect a person or a group of people in order to get in with a crowd or with wealthy individuals or so-called class, that's another discussion too, that I don't necessarily agree with how people are categorized. But if you have to disrespect yourself or disrespect others in order to gain favor with a particular group or person, it's going to be very short-lived. And first of all, it's wrong. Okay, to disrespect someone to gain favor. But let's also look at the consequences, the underpinnings. You are not only are you not going to get respect, you're going to be in a position where you are disrespecting yourself. And I see some more people entering the chat. Thank you, guys. When I see some likes coming in, I'm going to go and look and see who's inside the chat and say hello to you guys. But when you disrespect others, or you disrespect a person or a group to try to get respect for yourself, you are not only, again, is it wrong, but there are consequences for it. You have some people now who seem to be gaining politically, who seem to be gaining, amassing a following. But if they had to denigrate someone, if they have to speak down on people that, especially that look like them or that identify with them, you know what that is when you see it. And even if you are not of the group of that person who is denigrating people, there are people who may not even be in your group. They see what you're doing. They may use you for some time. I don't know if you guys can hear, there's a call coming in. I'm gonna have to return that call. Oh, I see a like. So let's see. It looks like that like probably came from Silent Docs. So thank you so much, Silent Docs. I'm gonna assume that like came from you. So when I get more likes, I'm gonna look down and see who's in the chat and what's being said. So that's the number one thing, okay? That respect factor. You think, oh, I'm going to denigrate myself. I'm going to put myself down in order to gain favor with this group. And not only is it wrong, not only is it not going to work, but people will not respect you. So even if you're at school and you feel like you have to be disrespectful to a certain group of people, you know, maybe those who are very studious, who are always in their books, always answering in class, or who dress a certain way, or they're the quiet one. And you think in order to gain favor with a dominant group, with a quote unquote popular kids, you have to disrespect this person. It will not work. It will not work. Firstly, because it's wrong, and even the Bible says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. The Bible talks about how God protects the little ones. I'm paraphrasing. So anytime you have a group or people who seem to have challenges or disadvantages, and you want to degrade that group in order to get some favor, it's not going to work. And the longer it works, I think in some cases, the bigger your consequence is going to be. It's not going to work long term. And people will not respect you. People from the group that you identify with will not respect you. And people from that so-called dominant or popular group will not respect you. Regardless of what they say and how they use you, they can see what you're doing. And they don't respect it. So even though it's going to take longer to gain favor or to gain power or to gain influence, if that's what you're looking for. First of all, I don't believe that's what you should be after, just power or money or wealth. You should be thinking about how you can serve others genuinely. But if getting into a position where you have a platform where you can speak and be listened to and impact change, it's going to take longer. Degrading yourself or people that look like you or identify with you, it may speed things up, never going to amount to anything. So that's the first point, respect. Oh, I see some more likes in the chat. So let me see who's here. I see Jenkins is here. I see Islam Anarbaev is here. Anarbaev is here. I love you too. Thank you so much. I see Jack Chavez is here. And Jack Chavez says, Model Tree, we love you. I love you too. All right, you guys are wonderful. I'm going to keep looking down as I see more people, more likes in the chat and more comments. I'm going to keep looking down and see who's in there. And then I'm going to respond to what I see. So we had number one is, are you depressed? Respect. That's number one. And I'm going to give you 5 points. Number one, if you are disrespecting people, you are disrespecting yourself. Trying to gain favor, it's not going to work. And I know when I say this, come to mind some people that you see, some who have massive followings, and they're predicated on them disrespecting themselves in order to find favor with a particular group. It doesn't matter how you deny that that's the case, or call yourself a free thinker, say that you won't be boxed in, say that you're no longer afraid to espouse your own ideas. People know what they're seeing. And when you disrespect yourself like that, you are never truly going to be considered of substance or really be of substance. So you have to sit back and think, this may take longer, but oh, it will be wonderful when I get there, because I will have done it based on what I believe, and I will be perpetuating ideas that I believe in when I get there. So again, if you're in school and you think you're going to downplay someone, degrade someone, act flippant with a group of people, and you think you're going to gain favor, nobody will respect it. No matter if they use you for some time, nobody will respect it. So when we ask the question, are you depressed? If you're looking and you're seeing people who are cruel and unkind, and they seem to be rising, they seem to be getting up there, they seem to be making strides, and it's making you feel depressed because you're saying, wow, people do the wrong thing and they get ahead. That is not something to aspire to or envy or emulate, because those people's actions will preclude them from having the kind of success that you're looking for as a person of integrity. So it's nothing to give credence to. Now, number 2 of these 5 points, are you depressed? And I said that this is about access. So before I get to number 2, let me see who else is in the chat and what's being said. Jack Chavez, let me see, before I read it, if this is something appropriate. Okay, I'll read what Jack Chavez says. Jack Chavez says, can I ask what the message of "Are you depressed?" at the start of your videos means? I'm curious of the message. Okay, looks like a friendly question. Jack Chavez, it's actually what it says. Just, are you depressed? I had the experience of, and maybe I'll share something a little bit personal. I had the experience a long time ago when on a local level distributing flyers. And we would distribute flyers with different topics, And it was always when we distributed the flyer, "Are you depressed?" that it was almost like people would secretly take this flyer to go and read. Or if we put it online, the engagement just spiked. And we realized that there are many people in our country and around the world who are dealing with sadness, but they don't tell people about it. Privately dealing with sadness, privately pretending to be happy, privately pretending that the things that are in place are pleasing or easy for them. So that's what that means. And it's a good question, and it also draws us back to the second point that I want to make, are you depressed? And this is about, and if you guys, if I see more questions, I will go back in and start seeing who else is in the chat and what else is being said. So let me go back in to number 2. This is the new thing today, right? A following that you have, the numbers. And I've been noticing that people who have huge followings, sometimes you'll actually look at the engagement or the number of views that they have in videos, which might be contradictory with what I'm saying, but you just look. Or you'll see legacy media and you just look. And they really don't have the same kind of engagement as smaller channels. You can be somebody who has 10 followers, 5 followers, 1 follower, but you put out something of power, of substance, of a real intellectual exploration. But they want you, I believe some, want others to feel insignificant. And so numbers are suppressed. or you're diminished because you have a certain following. I even saw someone once on a podcast say, oh, should this even be clicked on? It only has a certain number of likes. It was under 20 likes. So should they even click on it? When I ask you to like it as you come inside, that's because that engagement does impact how it is sent out how the algorithm sends it out to more people. And if you want to have a positive impact, you do want to see that you can impact others and draw in more ears, hearts, and minds to engage with what you're saying. But this idea that the value of what you have is predicated on the number of people, the number of followers that you have, the number of views on a video, the number of likes. There's a difference between saying, hey, like this as you come into the room, because it's going to help more people to get these different ideas. And there's a difference between only attributing that and only attributing value to something because of the number of views on something. I'm only going to think this person is important or valuable because of the number of views. When you look again, many of the people that have hundreds of millions of followers have come from legacy media. So they literally have hundreds of years of help behind them. Hundreds of years behind them of help. And you who started with an idea, I always say like a little cooking show or a little podcast, and you started it out, you're starting now. You're starting in the last decade. You're starting in the last year. And you're comparing yourself to people who have centuries of help behind them. And you have to start looking at the power. When you have 10 followers, the power of that compared to somebody who is bequeathed their following from legacy media. They literally are with an institution that started in the 1700s or the 1800s or the early 1900s, and you started last year. And then they're going to compare these followings. And people who have the financial wherewithal to blast out the people that they are signing or the people that they are promoting to millions. And here you are coming on, just sharing your story in a situation where many people have talked about, are there cases in which it's really suppressed in terms of, different algorithms. But here you are bravely sharing your story, even when it seems like nobody's listening. And yet you don't know the impact that you're having. You don't know how great the impact can be because they've made you feel diminished. Like, why even get on there and start talking if it's just going to be this number of people that are listening? And yet you don't know. Somebody may be listening and you change their life. You help them to want to keep going. You gave them an idea that will also then impact thousands or millions. But again, it's not about that number. It could be one person that you impact, and maybe they get the strength to take care of their daughter in a way that they wouldn't have, to be kind to their grandparent in a way they wouldn't have realized will impact them for the rest of their life, although they should know. But they may think, oh, let me jump online and see what's going on. And they don't know that caring for that grandparent is more important than the likes they're going to get online. Caring for that grandparent, being loving to that grandparent is going to be impactful on their heart for the rest of their lives in a way that getting 50 likes online could never compete with. So that's number 2. Respect yourself, number 1. Number 2, don't think about other people and their perceptions of importance because of numbers. Don't let that diminish what you're doing. So I'm going to go in and see what Jack Chavez is saying. Make sure it's friendly. And let's see, I'm going to read part of what's said here. I am humbled to see your work. Well, thank you, Jack Chavez. You know what I want to say to that? I want you, if there's a way that you want to engage with what we're doing, I want you to go to modelpoetry.com to really show that interest. I want you to first follow here, and then I want you to go to modelpoetry.com, and there's a space to email on the bottom of the page, and I want you to email the interest that you have in engaging with our community. And that will let me know that you're really serious about it. And I want you also, at the close of this video, this is how I will really know that you're serious about working with model poetry. At the close of this video, I want you to write a comment on this video. Then I will really know that you're serious. And I say, let's get serious as a community. Let's get serious as a body of people who want to impact change. So I thank you, Jack Chavez. I think, it is wonderful that you have this impetus and that you're interested in this initiative. So yes, number one, liking the video. Number two, following Model Poetry on YouTube. Number three, going to the website, modelpoetry.com, using the email at the bottom to say, how can I work with you? Definitely we will respond. And one of the most important, comment on this video after it's completed and uploaded. And comment on other videos, other of our lives, because this is where we're focusing our energy. Let us know how serious you are, Jack Chavez, because I think people who are really serious about movement are very, very powerful. And so I want to see the lengths of it. And I truly appreciate you. So let me go on now to number three. Number one, respect. Number two, not being moved just by the length or the depth of somebody's following. The depth is different ideologically, but not just being moved by numbers in terms of following. Number three, and this kind of relates to number one and two. Do not, and I've spoken about this before, do not, for these five, the question again, are you depressed? 5 points I want to give you. Number three, do not let yourself be overall moved by other people's opinions in general. Yes, this relates to number one. Yes, this relates to number two. But you will not understand the deep sadness that can go along with just overly being fixated on what somebody else is thinking about you. It is a very dangerous, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, again, these are just our opinions, my opinion, way to go about things. And when we say, are you depressed? And this is number three. If you are doing that, in my opinion, that is something that can really bring you very low emotionally. Being overly dependent on what other people think about you, their opinion. And I know it's easier said than done. And this relates to number four that I'm going to give you in a moment. And people have said, because historically when we were developing as the human, as Homo sapiens sapiens, being a part of a group was very important for survival. This is what's been said. People, you have to do your own research, form your own opinion. But it makes sense, I think, in a lot of ways, that working as a collective was very important. You couldn't just be a loner out in a very dangerous terrain. Nowadays, you can be, and you can be just fine. But we might be, it could be argued that we have some element of our brains which are wired in this way because there was more of a dependence on being a part of a group and the dangers of being outside of a group. Now, I'm not one to say, don't ever care about what others think in any way. I mean, you have to be doing the right thing, in my opinion. It can't just be like wilding out and you just want to just do whatever and you have no concern for how it impacts or, hurts or helps others. You want to always be helping others and doing the right thing. But if you're in a situation where you're in an environment where you don't agree with what people are doing, or they're doing something that's wrong, and you feel you need to step away, okay, you can't then be overly concerned with what other people are doing, because that is going to inhibit you from being able to make real change, which also leads us to number 4. Are you depressed? Here's the number 4th point, and you can go back and listen for the initial points if you're just joining us now. And I'm going to go and look into the chat in a moment to see who's there, to see what's being said. So number 4, okay, that relates to number 3 of not being overly concerned. It is so painful when you have a certain comfort level to then think of how you can change the dynamics of a relationship. Some people, they believe in just walking away. I'm very cautious about that. I really believe in really, holding on to those, relationships, family relationships, friendships, really holding on. But if you have to change the dynamics, it can be very painful because there's a certain comfort level. And after a difficult day or difficult experiences, you want to just kind of recline into spaces and engagement that's very comforting, very normal to you. But if you want to have an impact, there may be dynamics in your friendships, in your relationships that you have to examine, and certain boundaries that you have to create for your own mental health. So it relates to the previous point that I gave, because if you're not able to spend time in your own company, comfortable in your own company, happy in your own company, then when you set up a boundary and you say, hey, when we talk, you're always joking, but I notice your jokes are very belittling. You're always like, oh, you're so stupid, or you're goofy. It's always something that denigrates me. And I know I may think differently than you, but I think those names that you keep calling me are going to seep into my consciousness and how I feel about myself. So if you could stop that would really be great, even if you don't understand it, even if you disagree with me, or you think I'm whining. That's something that will really strengthen me. And the person is like, you're being dumb. It's just, come on, you're being too sensitive, you're being a snowflake. We're just talking. Stop being so dumb. You might have to create a boundary where you speak with a person less, or your conversations are shorter, or because you have to really develop yourself before you can engage with this person. If this is seeping into your consciousness and you have to go out there and be great, and there's always something in your mind that's lingering, that's saying you're dumb, you're stupid, you're a whiner, you're always complaining, how are you going to go out there and be great if you have those things pulling you down about your character? So you have to be able to set up boundaries. And with that comes, if the person is like, let's not really talk much, whatever, okay? All right. I'll catch you around, okay? That's where liking yourself and being comfortable in your own company comes in. Because that means when you start setting up those boundaries, if it's not respected, that's okay. You really enjoy your own company. You really enjoy maybe popping some popcorn, watching some shows that you like when you're not creating stuff, because most of the time you want to be creating, not just imbibing, not just taking stuff in. You want to be creating, you want to be contributing. But you have your times when you want to see what's going on. You want to relax, you want to refuel, you want to enjoy yourself. And really taking a walk down by the ocean. You don't have to, if you're walking by yourself, that's okay. If you're in a house full of people, but you go to your own room and close the door, that's okay. That's okay. Learn to enjoy your own company, which is going to bring us to number 5. I believe loving God is the most important thing. All this other stuff, you want to have self-esteem, you want to this and that. I think if you don't have a true relationship with God, all the other stuff is going to fall. That's my opinion. And the Bible says, Jesus said, love God. I'm paraphrasing, but love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. I'm paraphrasing. You can look for the exact words that Jesus said. So, yes, you love God first, and then you love your neighbor as yourself. And I think it's amazing that Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Because he didn't skip over loving yourself. I think I think, this is just my belief, that he's saying loving yourself is important. Love God first. Love your neighbor as yourself, he says. It's just amazing to me. Absolutely amazing to me. So it's part of it. It's part of it. If you don't learn to love yourself, I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard. And I don't want to misinterpret the Bible or what Jesus is saying. I know it's very clear he's saying love God, love your neighbor. But I think it's important that he said love your neighbor as yourself. It's so complex, the things that he taught us, and that we continue to learn from him in our own personal relationships with him. So let me go into the comments and see who's here. Just absolutely wonderful. Dean Bola says, hello, Model Poetry. Dean Bola, you contributed some absolutely beautiful things. And let me just say this as we bring the live to a close. I'm going to name some more of you in the chat as we bring the live to a close. Dean Bola, your writing that we read, and you guys can go to some previous lives to see, you are an extraordinary writer. You will impact, you have the potential to impact a nation, nations, people all over the world. And it is just extraordinary to have you part of these lives and to hear your voice. You're absolutely wonderful. If you guys want to go back to previous lives, you can listen to what Dean Bola wrote and what we read from Dean Bola in previous lives. And Dean Bola is on the modelpoetry.com website. If not, Dean Bola, please let me know if you don't see yourself there when you go to modelpoetry.com. But as far as I know, they still have a link for Dean Bola on the website. Jake Shakes, I'm so glad that you're here. Silent Docs, thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Again, Islam Anarboev, I love you too. Thank you so much. Jenkins, maybe we'll hear a joke next time. Aaron Cole, thank you so much for coming. I think that's a curiosity face. Maybe we'll hear from you in the next live. Landon Feldpausch says, are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm so glad that you asked the question. Continue to listen to the lives. That's probably one of the biggest compliments that we could get for the lives, because we welcome everybody to come and converse with us. So Landon Feldpausch, you are very much welcome here. Thank you, and continue to listen to the lives for more insight. I'm so glad that you're here. Ashton loves baseball. I think you're saying what's up, I think. But I love you guys so much. So I welcome you to go to modelpoetry.com. You'll see some of our amazing sponsors, like the Early Owego Antique Center in Owego, New York, Flat Rock Wine Cellars. You'll see some of the beautiful companies that we talk about, like Ashione Gallery. When you go to modelpoetry.com, you will see links there. Also Guggen. Also just some of the wonderful, wonderful companies that are doing things. I thank you guys so much for coming. I thank you for being a part of the lives. I thank you for engaging. I thank you because you guys know that we are just followed by celebrities and leaders. I really notice that other people are just not interested. It's celebrities and leaders who like our show, who like modelpoetry.com. And if you go to modelpoetry.com, you will see the number of celebrities, worldwide recognized celebrities. It's not just, and we love Doja Cat so much. She's one of the great celebrities that recently put us in her Instagram story. You'll see the supermodels that follow us. You will see the rock stars, internationally recognized rock stars. An actress that the New York Times has proclaimed. You go to modelpoetry.com, you will see. Our community is just for celebrities and leaders. You come here, you come to the lives, you refuel, you activate yourself, and you go back out there to impact others. So thank you so much. I'm going to end with words from Dean Bola, because what an impactful and wonderful voice that is going to be influencing people, we believe, all over the world. What a dynamic and intelligent, creative and intuitive voice that can also think when you're able to think on your feet like that as well, you're able to be so cultivated, linguistic, and elegantly articulate. How beautiful is that? And I know that's what our community is about. So I am going to thank everyone again. If I didn't get to your question and you're really serious about it, just when this is about to be uploaded, just leave it on the live itself. That's how I know that you're serious, and we'll answer in the comments. Ask your question in the comment section. But because of how Dean Bola contributed to our live, I'm going to leave with words from Dean Bola. If you have something to contribute in another show, if you have poetry, if you have thoughts, powerful like Dean Bola, and you know how model poetry is. We're not about powerful in the way that other people perceive it. It's not going to be, because you have 3 million followers. It's not because it sounds like something of credence to established venues. It could be 3 words, but it carries that power when you are a person of substance or recognizing your substance and wanting to positively impact others in the community. So it could be as extensive and eloquent and fulsome as Dean Bola as said in one of our previous lives, and look in the previous lives to see what Dean Bola said. You'll be astounded. But it can also be 3, 4, 5 words. We don't value things the way other people value things. We're looking at it going from the heart. All right, so thank you guys. If you want us to especially talk about you or underline your words in the next live, make sure when this is uploaded that you give a like and that you comment. We're going to start taking it more seriously. And when we know that you're serious is when you go to the website, when you comment after the live, especially when you comment after the live, when you give a like as you come into the room. So thank you, everyone. And let me end with Dean Bola's words. Dean Bola says, "Thank you so much for your kind words. Life has been very difficult lately. I always feel seen when you are live. You're almost bringing me to tears, Dimbola. Thank you so much. I hope that you know and that you understand that part of why life has been difficult for you lately, in my opinion, is because you offer something of substance. Sometimes things can be very easy, or appear, at least initially, very easy for those who are just going with the status quo, not questioning anything, not wanting to make things easier for anybody else, just concerned about themselves. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes people may have an easier life that may give them the opportunity and the ease to help others. So there are all different ways. But sometimes, when things are really difficult for you, it is because God has blessed you with something so impactful, so beautiful, that negativity it doesn't even want you to get up in the morning. Doesn't even want you to have the strength to get up. Because look at, if you hadn't gotten up that day, Dimbola, and contributed those words. Imagine the people who didn't even say anything, but they were moved by your words. Imagine. They wouldn't have been moved if negativity could just constrict you from even wanting to get out of bed. You feel so discouraged that you don't even want to try. That's why, in my opinion, that's why. I think that's very likely why it's been so difficult for you, because what you have is so powerful. So please don't give up. Please keep going. Dimbola, you are amazing. Everybody that was a part of this live today, Jake Shakes, which is a very cool name, Dimbola, Jack Chavez, Silent Docs, Jenkins, Islom Onarboev, Aaron Coe, Landon Feldpausch, Ashton Loves Baseball. Thank you everybody for coming. Dimbola, again, thank you to you. Silent Docs, thank you to you for being a regular. Dimbola, thank you to you and everyone. You're absolutely wonderful. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.